It's funny, the other day I met she's my friend now, but we met because I sold her a house and she was pregnant when we were house hunting. And I went over there for dinner the other day and I was holding her baby in the house that I sold her. And I was like, this
That's
is the
crazy.
coolest thing ever. But during the process, you have to know, like, now is the time to chat business. And then now you can, build rapport and, have fun and build that friendship.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to The Closing Table. I'm your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and here on this very special episode, I know I say special often, but we're talking about 100 episodes today. So I wanted to say that. 100 episodes today, very special episode, very special guest today. We want to welcome Ashley Ridenour joining the show. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing great. I feel honored to be a part of the 100th episode. I mean, my goodness. Congratulations.
Yes. Why, thank you. Thank you. Team effort right here definitely isn't, I'm not doing it by myself. So I want to thank the team for getting us here to 100. But enough of that. Let's get into the nitty gritty, right, Ashley?
Let's do it.
We are here to talk about your current market and things you have going on in real estate. But we start things off a little bit on the cooler side with an icebreaker. Starting it off, I have a nice one for you. It's called Fill in the Blank.
Okay.
Exactly what it sounds like. I just need you to complete these sentences for me that are all related to real estate. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll get.
All right, cool. Let's go. First one. I don't know why people think real estate is blank.
Easy.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
In 10 years, the real estate industry will be blank.
Ooh, in 10 years, I think the real estate industry is going to be more technology advanced.
Agreed. Blank is the key to longevity as a realtor.
Having great communication with your clients.
Sharp. Last one. If you can blank, you can maintain a home.
Oh, if you can care, you can maintain a home.
Unique.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool, Ashley. Thank you for starting things off with a little bit of context into those incomplete sentences. Now let's move along. I like you to take this time right now, Ashley, to give us a little bit of the human side of you. So if you can, in 60 seconds or less, tell us, who is Ashley outside of real estate?
Outside of real estate, I've been with my husband for 13 years. We share an 11-year-old son. Yeah. I'm the oldest of 7 siblings. So I know my youngest sister is 5 years old. I have 1 nephew. So very family oriented. On the weekends and late at nights, we get together with our family a lot, huge family. And, I have a core group of girlfriends that I really love hanging out with. So other than real estate, I'm really chill. I like to hang out and have a good conversation.
There it is. Beautiful. Good to hear. We all have our own little personal sides to us outside of work and business. So I like to see that side of our guests. So Thank you for starting that off. So let's get into what you do and where you do it. First and foremost, can you describe your market for us? Just give us as much details geographically first as to your location, and then go into the economics regarding real estate.
Sure. So geographically, I'm in the Metro Detroit area, so the suburbs of Detroit. And I'm technically, I guess the closest area would be Dearborn that people would be familiar with. So any hour drive outside of Dearborn, I service. So there's a lot of counties in that area, but more specifically, if I had to really niche it down, it would be the Downriver area. And it's just like it sounds, down the Detroit River, 15 minutes south of Detroit. So that's the area that I'm out of. Very close-knit community. And I love it. Born and raised in Metro Detroit. So that's the area that I service.
Okay. Very unique market. That is. I think we've had a guest on here that, was servicing that area also. I'm a little bit familiar with it as I've lived in the Brownstown area.
Yeah, so that's
It's
downriver.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. It's just like, I don't know, coming from Detroit, it seems a lot more quiet, a
Hmm.
lot more still.
Yeah,
Just not the hustle and bustle as the inner city, but it's a little bit different from the suburbs too. It's hard to explain. Would you agree?
I would agree. And I think you actually described it perfectly because we're in a very unique location as far as you have the urban city right here, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
like Monroe, which is all farmland. And we're like right
Right.
in between there. So we have a
Yep.
little bit of both. We can either go to the farm and,
Yep.
there's
That's a great
Calder's
point.
Dairy Farm. Yeah. And then you can go to Detroit and, do all of their festivals and the fun downtown life there. So we are situated where you get the best of both worlds, honestly.
I agree. I agree. That's actually a good point to it right there.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about the average consumer, average transaction, most consumers, they aren't privy to what's necessary for a smooth transaction.
Mhm.
Not all transactions are going to go through quote unquote perfect. But how do you make your clients more prepared and feel more comfortable with the home purchasing and selling process?
That's a great question. And probably one of the most important. So, my answer to that would be communication and expectations, setting the expectations up front. Because again, everyone's situation looks different. And so, asking a lot of questions, I almost come in like a doctor. I probably ask every client like 50 questions. And they're like, what is the point of this? I just want a home. But it all matters because when you get into a transaction, there's so many things that can happen. And I just need to know, like, holistically what we're working with. And that way I can create solutions along the way because there's so many hypotheticals in a situation. So the
Yeah.
more knowledge that I have about your circumstance, whether it's a time crunch, related, like you're moving from out of state, you're relocating, and you have a certain time frame, that matters. That's a huge component to the transaction. Financially, are there kids involved? I mean, there's so many different components. You have to ask a lot of questions and you have to communicate. So all of my buyers and sellers, we do consultations up front, and
Hmm.
it's pretty much just like a diagnosis. I ask so many questions, and then I turn it back on them. Ask me as many questions as possible too, because you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who's a good fit, whether it's personality wise or knowledge wise. Because if you're looking for something that I maybe don't have the knowledge or expertise in, that's okay. You can work with somebody else who's maybe more privy to that situation. But communication, to answer your question shortly.
No, I get it. I get it. So I wanna play, I don't want to say devil's advocate to that, but I
Sure.
want to dig a little bit deeper into that because when you say how do you build a relationship or keep your clients prepared, you just say communication.
Mhm.
It's such a very vague response. Is there any way you could dig a little bit deeper? When you say communication, like how often are you talking to your clients? Are you always initiating the conversation? What type of questions are you really getting from your clients, or what type of questions should they be asking? Like just a little bit more detail into your communication flow. How do you communicate? Is it all text, phone? When do you decide an email? Like, can you give us
Yeah, and
more?
that's really good because every client's different. So I have clients who are in their young 20s. They prefer to text. So we will
Hmm.
text for their preferred method of communication. I have clients who are older in their 60s and they prefer a phone call or they prefer to meet in person. So I make that possible too. So again, I just go back to asking a lot of questions. So most of those questions look like, are you a first time home buyer? Have you done this before? Have you had experience before? What was your experience like? What did you like that agent did? Why aren't you using that agent again? I really try to pry what's most important from them because then I can manage their expectations so they have a great process throughout this. And then it's also easier on me because if I don't know these things and you know, if I set aside time every morning to communicate with my clients. So if I know, how they like to be communicated with at what time point too, that's good for me because then expectations are the same. So communication is everything, but you also know when to communicate, how to communicate, and how to get it across effectively. There are some people who don't like small chat and they just call me, give it to me. I want a 15-minute phone, 15-second
Right.
phone conversation. And then there's other people who want to chat for 30 minutes and, know how my family's doing. And, so I have to know the client's expectations in order to give them a good process.
Gotcha. I mean, is there any like specific situations that call for specific modes of communication? Like, is there anything you would say, oh, well, this isn't a text message type thing. I have to email this, or this isn't a phone call thing. I can send this text, or I have to call for this. Are there any specific instances where you have to choose different methods of communication?
Absolutely. So after every phone call, and even sometimes in text messages, if it's relevant, always follow it up with an email, because in real estate, you
Mm,
want everything in writing. So if we
gotcha.
had an important conversation over the phone, whether it's inspection negotiations or an appraisal, or you're going to do a specific repair, or you need to get X, Y, and Z done, always follow it up with an email so that way you have paper trail. That will come in handy. But I don't like to tell people important or exciting news via text message. I think those always call for a phone call. So
I
whether
feel
they got
that.
an offer accepted, whether or not the inspection came back good or bad, or we have to renegotiate, I think that all deserves a phone call. I mean, this is such an important transaction. Maybe scheduling showings, you can do that via text message, or, this showing canceled. Can you please remember to, turn the lights off? Those things can do text messages, but a majority of the communication should be over the phone or email, and everything should be recapped with an email.
Right. Yeah. See, when you set certain expectations like that in communication,
Mhm.
people kind of have, they kind of know what to obviously expect, right? So if your expectations, or you set a standard, I should say,
Mhm.
of I'm going to call when there's big announcements to make, especially good news.
Mhm.
But if it's just something casual, comment, we'll send a text.
Mhm.
But overall, I'm going to send you an email regardless. That's part of CYA, cover your
Yes.
but I will say. But the other ones, I can understand that. Yeah, call. I don't want to get a text message saying, "Hey, we accepted the offer. Congratulations, you're gonna get your keys." Like,
Yeah.
that's cool, but I want to scream and yell on the phone when you tell me that. So I want you to hear me scream to the top of my voice. So
But there's also next steps, right? Especially if you're a first time home buyer. Hey, your offer is accepted. And their first response is, what do I do now? Right?
good
Okay.
point. Good
Now
point.
moving forward, right? And then
Yeah.
again, recap it with an email so it's bullet pointed, outlined.
Mm,
You send that in a text message, you know, there's now you're just text messaging back and forth rather than being the professional and kind of like taking authority of the transaction. They've hired you for a reason. So you kind of have to, be a professional in the matter. So
precisely. Moving beyond just personal finance preparation for clients looking to purchase a home, what other resources or assistance programs are offered by local governments, specifically in your market, that can help buyers overcome the financial challenges to obtaining a home?
that's a great question. So I'm not an expert in this, honestly, and I think this is good for buyers and sellers to know that there are a lot of people throughout a real estate transaction. You have real estate agents, title companies, mortgage loan officers, attorneys for certain situations. So, this
Mhm.
question specifically, I would love for people to ask me, because I know so many people in the industry. I can align them with the right loan officer that I would see fit for them. So obviously, I'm very aware of the programs. There's MISHDA in Michigan, which is a down payment assistance program, but you do have to pay it
Right,
back.
right.
So if you're planning on using this for a 3-year home because you know you're going to relocate to a new job, maybe that's not the best program for you, because you're going to have to pay that back when you sell the home. So I like to align myself with people who do this every day, day in and day out, and then I align them with them. I know there's certain banks right now that are just giving away $10,000. You don't have to repay it
Mm.
back. It's 100% forgivable. So a lot of people may qualify for that, but your credit score has to be in a certain spot. So there's different avenues and different programs out there, but they have different requirements or specifications. So if I can, again, going back to asking questions, what's your credit score? These are things that you can align them with the right person to get them the appropriate assistance program or resources to help them buy a home without necessarily having cash on hand.
Yeah. I mean, per usual, you talk to a professional and see what resources they provide, but do your own research too. You never know
Yeah.
what you stumble upon. I have heard of the Michigan down payment assistance that
Mhm.
has been discussed here on the closing table. And we also know that certain local municipalities and governments have their own programs also to help out with down payment or
There's so
closing
many,
costs.
hundreds of
Yeah.
them,
Yep.
and you can't know them all unless you're in that niche of the industry every day. So that's why I like to align them with somebody else who's more familiar.
Yep, exactly. Speaking of saving money and utilizing resources and things like that, it's usually easier to negotiate fees charged by your lender than it is to negotiate fees charged by third party businesses in regards to the transaction.
Mhm.
So, would a client be allowed to negotiate the terms and costs of their mortgage at closing? And what specific costs and terms can they negotiate?
So, um, your third party costs when it comes to mortgages are things like appraisal or, where the lender has to hire it out separately. You cannot
Mm,
negotiate mortgage costs at closing, right? This is something that's
really?
negotiated during the process. So you can't wait until you get your final closing disclosure to say, hey, I want this removed or let's talk about this. You have to do it up
Mm,
front when you first start the process. There's two things that you can negotiate in terms of cost when it comes to a mortgage, and that is the loan origination fee and discount points. So sometimes when a client is speaking to a loan officer, they're telling them that their number one goal is to have the lowest interest rate.
right.
And they might say that because they've heard, their friend or their uncle talk about it. But sometimes a lender will charge you discount points. You have to pay for that low interest rate. So that might necessarily not be your goal. Excuse me. If your goal is to have a monthly payment that you can afford and pay less at closing cost, you might not want to pay for those discount points, if that makes sense.
Mm,
So, yes, you can negotiate mortgage fees, but only two of them, and that's the loan origination fee and the discount points. And then, you just want to know, you just want to talk it out. You don't want to tell them your goal. You just want to not tell them your goal. You don't want to tell them something that you've heard from somebody else. You want to tell them your goal, and then your loan officer can tell you, okay, this is, what you're looking for.
right. That's crazy that you just said they are able to negotiate the loan origination fees.
Mm-hmm.
Because as
Some
someone
companies.
who recently held their license as a mortgage loan originator in the state of Michigan, I know that's how we get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Or, that's how they get paid through originating the loans. And to hear that that's a negotiable fee, I'm
Well,
thinking like, how
so
does that affect their pay just from negotiating that? Like,
Well, it's
you know what I'm saying?
dependent from a broker or a retail company.
Okay.
So my husband's actually a mortgage officer, so I know a little bit more than somebody.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah. So the loan origination fee, depending on if you're using a broker, a bank, a credit union, sometimes it's negotiable, sometimes it's not. It really depends on who
Mm,
you're using and what company you're going with. So if it's a
gotcha.
broker, yes, that fee is absolutely negotiable. But if you're going through a credit union or you're going through a retail like Quicken or Loan Depot, maybe not so much negotiable. That could just be their standard fee.
Mm, got you. Okay, now that makes sense. That
Mhm.
makes sense. Because I was sponsored through one of those other ones that you mentioned. I don't want to
Okay.
mention the
Yeah, I don't
name
want to name
again,
names
but
either, but
so I get it. I get it now. Okay, yeah,
mhm,
and I don't think those fees were negotiable. So
mhm.
for sure, okay, it makes sense now. More perspective. Being a realtor means being involved with other people's personal situations, all up in their business, is what I like to say. So, in what ways do you prioritize providing emotional support to your clients through the highs and lows of this real estate process, which is very crazy?
Yeah. So buying real estate is really emotional. Most people
Yeah.
move because they're expecting, they're growing their family. Sometimes they move because they're getting divorced. Sometimes they move because there was a death in the family.
Hmm.
and they need to downsize. There's so many emotional reasons that somebody
Yeah.
could be selling or buying a house. So knowing that in mind, you just need to align yourself with somebody who's also compassionate, because, and you also want to know, you want to align somebody who's compassionate but also knows your ultimate goal, because during this transaction, when emotions are involved, whether they're good emotions or bad emotions, you have blurred vision, right? You don't see things
Mm.
as clearly. You may make irrational decisions. So you
Yep.
almost need to be like the thermostat or like the project manager and be like, okay, I know you don't like the ugly carpets, but it's in the perfect location. It's right near your parents to babysit. It's in the school district that you want. If you're getting all of these things that align with your end goal, can you get past the ugly carpet? So it's just having compassion, but also kind of like gently redirecting them to their end goal, because we get fixated on maybe the small minute things that don't matter when you're
Hmm.
emotional. So just knowing that and being respectful and compassionate at all times, that help people make better decisions.
Right. Right. So I gotta ask you, because I mean, you spoke on it. It's some of these transactions you're dealing with people who are going through a divorce. So I'm talking about they can have super easy short temper. You know what I'm saying? It'd be very frustrating for them. Or you can deal with someone who just got married or super happy or whatever the case may be. You're working with these clients. In some cases it could be just a couple days, couple weeks, sometimes it could be a few months. So overall you do have to build that relationship. How are you balancing that difference between being a real estate professional and also trying to build that relationship and be a friend, but still keep that balance of not being biased or get emotionally attached?
Yeah, it takes time,
Mm,
just because you don't want to get too involved when you're in the middle of a transaction, but you also do want to
yeah.
be there for somebody. So, and it's just knowing a good time and place. It's just knowing your surroundings, when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate. Ultimately, I will always remain professional, whether I'm working with my aunt or my cousins or my close friends. It's business first. You hired me for a job, but I also know, when it's appropriate to kind of like let down the professional face and, be a friend for you. And I think over time you start to learn that and you start to develop relationships with people. It's funny, the other day I met she's my friend now, but we met because I sold her a house and she was pregnant when we were house hunting. And I went over there for dinner the other day and I was holding her baby in the house that I sold her. And I was like, this
That's
is the
crazy.
coolest thing ever. But
Yeah.
during the process, you have to know, like, now is the time to chat business. And then now you can, build rapport and have fun and build that friendship too. But
Right,
it's
right.
just the balance.
Yeah, yeah. I know that was a full circle moment for you, like
It
almost feeling like
was.
I'm the godmom or something. Like
I know.
almost feel like I gave birth to this kid
I was
too.
like, I remember, you were saying this is going to be the nursery and this is where we'll put this, because that's what people
Yeah,
do. You're
yeah.
looking at the home and you're envisioning, where you're going to put your belongings, and then to be in there and look at the nursery and hold the baby. It's like, oh wow, this is crazy.
I know, right? I know, right? Yeah, that has to be very rewarding for
It
you. I
is.
would only imagine, and fulfilling. Managing unfortunate financial situation as a homeowner can happen often, and it can often end in foreclosure. But
Mhm.
there are options available in case people don't know. But I have a few questions. One of them being something called a deed in lieu of foreclosure. A
Mhm.
deed in lieu of foreclosure.
Mhm.
What is that?
Just means that you didn't pay your mortgage and now the bank is looking to do the process of foreclosure. So, foreclosure, it kind of happens really quick. Michigan is a 6 month redemption period. So, if you don't pay your mortgage, I think on like day 45, they'll send out a letter. Um, I don't know the specific days, but I know it's not like more than 2 months. So, once you're behind on your mortgage payments, they will send you a notice of default. You have not
Hmm.
paid your mortgage. Then they'll send you another letter. After that, there's a sheriff's sale. So your home will go to auction. And then
Mm,
after, in Michigan, since we are a 6 month redemption state, um, after it's been to auction, you do have 6 months to either pay off the redemption cost or buy it out, or figure out a way to salvage it, but you do have to pay whatever the redemption cost is from the bank. And then if that doesn't happen, then it officially forecloses after that 6 month period. So there's ways to avoid foreclosure. You could do a loan modification where you modify the loan to make up for the balance that you didn't pay. You could do a short sale. So you could align yourself with an agent who has experience in that. And essentially, you're asking the bank to take a loss on the loan.
Wow.
But that helps you to do a short sale because it's a win-win for everyone. Banks don't want to foreclose on a home, and you don't want a foreclosure on your credit report either. So if you can do a short sale and work something out, you can actually sell the home at no cost to the seller. The bank can make more money than they would in a foreclosure, essentially, and you can buy a house quicker than you would if you had a foreclosure on your record.
Hmm. Hmm. So a couple things that I didn't know that we're learning here for the first time here on the closing table. You 6 months. Michigan has a 6 month
Redemption
basic
period.
redemption period. That's interesting. And then you said the home would go into auction. Now, at what point does it go into auction again? I want to make sure I'm understanding that correct.
Yeah. So if you don't pay your mortgage, I think it's like day 45, they send a notice of default.
Right.
After you get the notice of default, I mean, you're in pre-foreclosure essentially. So then you can get with the bank, or you can get with the agent to, almost like stop the foreclosure process and either do a loan modification, or you could do a short sale. Either
Right.
or. Now there's attorneys involved, the short sale department at the bank is involved. Um, Agents can help you throughout this process, but you can essentially avoid foreclosure by that. Now, say you don't do the loan modification before it goes to a sheriff's sale, you do have
Right.
6 months. So the redemption rate, it's not necessarily what you owe on the mortgage, right? It's a combination of everything. So say you owe $150,000 on your mortgage, but the redemption rate is like 175 because now your taxes were escrowed, so now you're behind on your property taxes.
Mm.
There's an HOA fee on the property. HOA also can foreclose on your home, so you have to pay the HOA their money. Could be a construction lien. There could be a multitude of different reasons that and this would be a good thing to do a short sale. So again, you're asking the bank to take a loss. So you can sell the home and then pay off all of the debts, the property taxes, the HOAs, whatever liens you have on the home. You can go that route. But once it goes to the sheriff's sale, you do have 6 months, either pay the redemption rate, or it does foreclose.
Okay.
But during the
So
redemption rate, it's good to know you could also sell your home. So if you have a lot of equity in your home, say your mortgage is only like, $100,000, but your home is worth like 400, you can sell your home during that redemption period, and whatever money that you make, you get to keep it after you pay off the redemption rate.
So okay, so
I know
just
it's
by
a
saying that
lot.
you made
Listen, you
no,
opened up the foreclosure. It's a lot of. It's a whole
no.
ball
See,
game.
Ashley, you did that, so now I gotta ask you some questions.
Okay.
Okay, so first off, basically, you mentioned that they would have the opportunity to sell. And so now I'm kind of confused. Like a short sale, I know that's also selling your home, but you said the bank is taking a loss, but you're selling it to avoid foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also just mentioned selling it, and if you
They're
have
two different. Yeah, they're two different. There's a lot of options when you're in pre-foreclosure. So
right,
if you have a lot of equity in the home, the best bet is to just sell it. If you
okay,
can't,
I get it now.
yeah, if
Oh,
you
I didn't
can't
think of that.
pay it and you have equity in the house, just sell it.
The other end is the short sales when you
The other
don't
end is
have
the
equity
short
in the
sale. If
home.
you can't sell it and, pay the redemption and walk away without bringing money to the closing table, that's when you want to do a short sale.
Got you. So and like you said, that's when you don't have any equity in the home, and you will take
Or
a
there's
loss.
not
The short
enough
sale.
equity to cover
Uh,
everything.
okay, good. So then my follow up question to that was the auction part. So does the auction come in once it's basically going into foreclosure, and they've already gave you the grace, the redemption period, and they're deciding that you can't pay it, so it goes into the auction. Then at that point,
So you'll get a letter saying that you defaulted on your mortgage, notice of default. And then after that, if you don't pay it, an auction date is set, usually
oh,
like a
okay,
month or two after. And if you still haven't caught up or done a loan modification or anything, then it will go to auction, a sheriff's sale. Then your
right,
home is sold at auction, or sometimes it's not. Sometimes, the bank, it'll just have to, the bank will, keep it. But once it goes to the auction sale, then you have a redemption rate. So say your
okay.
home, today's, June, whatever. Say it was sold at auction today. You have 6 months from today to then either come up with that money to pay the bank or the redemption rate to keep your home, or you can sell it if you have enough equity to cover the redemption rate and walk away from it.
So that's crazy. So if it was already sold at the another
Not
thing.
every
So you
state's
said
like this.
okay. So you said a share sale. That's
Mhm.
also known as an auction.
Auction, yep.
Okay, okay. That's what I want to clarify also. And then the second thing, so you said they would sell it at the auction, and
Mhm.
even though they sold it, you would still have 6 months.
Mhm.
So when you're paying, if you do get the money to pay it off, are you paying the person that just bought it at the auction? I'm assuming.
Yep.
Ah, hey, this is the craziest thing ever. You know why I want to come full circle with that? The first thing I thought of with a home auction was Happy Gilmore. Thought about the fact that this man almost lost his grandmother's home and he had to play golf to get that. I'm like, I thought the house was gone because he already bought it, but then now I know you have a grace period. Oh my
Yep.
goodness, I'm watching that movie different now.
Yep.
Look at this.
Yeah, the more you
Look at
know,
this.
right?
Yeah. So another quick question in regards to foreclosure, and we can leave that alone. If I do foreclose on my home, am I able to purchase another home, or am I disqualified from that in general? And or well, I was gonna ask about purchasing that same home. Let's just say in general. Are
Mhm.
you able to purchase a home ever again?
Ever again, yes. It's going to take a minimum of 7 years.
Oh, okay. Like a
Mhm.
bankruptcy of some
Yep.
sorts. Got you. Got you. Interesting. Interesting. All right. So it's not over. Look for
It's not
solutions,
over.
ways
Yep.
out of foreclosure, people.
There's so many
So
options to avoid foreclosure. Um,
mhm.
but a tip for that is to get an agent who is experienced and get them involved right away to go over your options. Because again, you have plenty of options to avoid foreclosure.
Agree. 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 Um, at this point, I want you to pretty much just tell us. I don't know. Are you a homeowner currently?
I am.
Okay. So let's take you back to when you didn't own a home.
Mhm.
You're aspiring to be a homeowner today, but knowing what you know now and the resources that are available, what steps would you take to own your first home?
That's a great question. The first thing, knowing what I know today, the first thing I would do is get with an agent and tell them honestly where you're at. Hey, my credit's bad, or I have a lot of credit card debt, or whatever the situation is. They can either put you in contact with somebody to get pre approved. If they deny your pre approval because of your debt to income or whatever, next thing you want to do is align yourself with like a financial advisor who can get you on a pathway to get your credit
Hmm.
score up to par and pay off some debt so then you can get qualified. Um, the biggest thing though is you have to have at least 2 years of steady employment history. Your credit score has to be like 580 or higher. And if you want to go like conventional, I think it's even in like the 600s. So the better the credit score, at least 2 years of job history. And then you want minimal debt as possible because they do calculate your debt to income. So you can't have like a huge car payment and student loans and all these credit
Yeah.
cards and then go get qualified for a mortgage.
Right.
So as long as those things are in line, you can get pre-approved. If not, you want to get with somebody who can help you get your credit to par. And then after that, honestly, I think to make this the best, um, like, I don't know why I'm at a loss for words. If you want to make this like best case scenario and make it an enjoyable process, you have to align yourself with somebody who has the time to answer questions and walk you through it. Because we had an agent when we were buying our home 9 years ago. Neither one of us were in the industry yet, and we knew nothing. And I feel like I just felt I was always on the internet Googling, and I should have been able to ask my agent, what's going on. But instead, I just found myself like down this research hole, and then you ask, advice from friends and family, and they just gave me really bad advice because it's not relevant to at my point of time when I was looking for a home. And that made it even more stressful, and it was an enjoyable process. So if I could go back in time, I would have interviewed agents.
There you go. Follow-up question. You said 2 years employment history or something like that. Does that mean you have to be at the same job for at least 2 years, or you have to have employment consistently for 2 years?
Employment consistently. However, it is, of course, there's exceptions and things like that. If you are self-employed or you have like 100% commission job, that's a different 2 years. So say you were working and getting a W-2 for 1.5 years, and then you just got a new job that's 100% commission, even though you're making a lot of money. Once you got that job that's 100% commission, you have to start that 2 years over again.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Oh, wow. So, wow. Okay. Wow,
I know. It's so much.
I get it. They're doing their due diligence as they should. But thank you so much, Ashley. We appreciate you for pulling up a chair to the closing table for episode 100.
Yeah, I hope you got some good, valuable information for your listeners to take home on 100th episode. That's congratulations again.
I know. Triple digits. Thank you so much. Hey, at this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, Ashley, please do so now.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I am on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. All of my contact information is on my Instagram. It's just Ashley, ASHLEY Ridenour, RIDENOUR, and there's an extra R, so 2 R's, RR. And that's my Instagram and Facebook.
All right, there it is. Thank you so much again. We appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule. For our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, this is when you hit the thumb, aka the like button, please and thank you. We're not gonna beg for it though. Make sure you also share the content and hit the subscribe button. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Ashley, I like to leave our audience with a question before we leave so that they can think on their way out the door. Audience, if you are a homeowner, do you still have a relationship with your realtor after closing on your home? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, talk to you next time.